We're back with another episode of Franchise My Business, podcast for franchisors, hosted by franchisors. I'm your host, Kevin Oldham, and we've got a rock star on today. So we're going to do a short intro, and then we're going to hop into it because cramming this amount of experience into 30 minutes is going to be challenging. So we're going to hit on the high points. I have Jamie Weeks as our guest today. He has a resume that is super, super long when it comes to the franchise industry. He's currently serving as the executive chairman and founder of Honors Holdings, which is the largest franchisee of OrangeTheory Fitness Studios globally. He's also the executive chairman of Legacy Franchise Concepts, which is Dogtopia franchisee and the franchisor of the Sweathouse infrared Sauna Studios. Jamie, heck of a bio, man. And before that, you were doing time in corporate America. I mean, what haven't you done at this point? Are you the guy that Elon's going to put on the first rocket to Mars?
No. No, thanks for the intro, Kevin. It's great to be on here. I appreciate the time. And listen, I hope I can add some value. Surely I've made enough of the mistakes by now. I can help some people.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? Everybody always wants to hear, "Hey, how'd you do it?" and all these things, and nobody really wants to talk about the trials and tribulations that we get there. And those are the things that I think are most valuable for entrepreneurs. So before going into the franchise world, so first of all, like you were doing stuff with wealth management at Morgan Stanley. Sounds like you've got this big, finance background, helping with asset management. At what point did you decide to hop into the franchise industry, and what year was that?
Yeah, that was 2014. And so I was 38, 39 years old. I'm 47 now. And I worked for UBS and mainly my career before franchising, I worked at UBS for about 11 or 12 years, the Swiss bank, and loved working there. It was probably one of the best things in my career, and the group of people I worked for and the guys I worked for were amazing. Yeah. And then went to Morgan Stanley, where I was a family wealth director, and really enjoyed it there. I worked with one of my best friends. And so that always makes it nice. And then in 2012 to 2014, I've always known that I want to be an entrepreneur and always knew that I was good at leading people. I didn't think that I would have 2,000 employees like I have today. That was never, in 20 or 30 maybe, but 2,000 seems aggressive. And it was never my plan, but this is where we've evolved to today, where we have the OrangeTheory business and Honors Holdings, which is really my baby. About 1,500 employees, 142 studios, a small corporate team of about 30 people for a big business based here in Atlanta. And that's been a business that I took on a private equity partner in 2017, at the end of 17, really beginning of 2018. And when I did that, I formed a family office called Legacy Franchise Partners. And became a Dogtopia franchisee immediately. That was the first thing I wanted to do. And then Sweathouse came to be as well. And so in beginning of 2022, February of 2022, the same private equity firm came to me and said, "Hey, listen, you've got two more things here that are obviously working. So let's figure something out and put all this stuff together." And that's how Legacy Franchise Concepts was born.
That's really cool. So I want to talk about Sweathouse. People call me a biohacker. I do ice baths. I like, exposure to heat and things like that. Is that something that you like to do too, or? Yeah,
I mean, listen, it's one of those things where, I wouldn't call what I'm doing biohacking in any way, although I guess you could really claim anything as biohacking.
Right.
For me, the infrared sauna is, I do 30 minutes at 160. And that 30 minutes to me is no phone, maybe my headphones. I'll either meditate, I'll do some breathing exercises. It's just a 30 minutes. I mean, we have all of our suites have TVs in them. I think they're probably used like half the time, which I love. And I really fought against putting TVs in the suites. But at the end of the day, similar to OrangeTheory, we want Sweathouse to be for all people. And so I was like, if it's a first time infrared sauna user and they need a TV for 45 minutes or an hour to get them through this, then it's part of it. It's worth it. And so I do 30 minutes of infrared sauna, and I do that. You can tell I'm a little stopped up. I won't do it today, but I do it every day. I'm religious about it. And then I follow it with a 5-minute cold plunge.
Attaboy.
And one of the things, I've got a Dr. Rachel Reed that works for us, who's our chief health and science officer, who came from OrangeTheory as well. And, a lot of the science around cold plunge is really interesting about how the major benefits are really 11 minutes a week at anything under 57 degrees.
I know. Isn't that wild? So, it's like small. Yeah, it's such a small effective dose that I was blown away when I learned it.
Well, if you're me, you're just like, thank God.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not that it's not fun.
No.
Did you get that from Huberman? The Huberman podcast?
It's actually, I've seen him say it, but it's also, I think there's some studies with different groups, and I can have Dr. Reed talk more on that. But it's pretty widely known that, listen, every little bit helps, but once you get to 11 minutes a week and less than, I think, 57 degrees, that the reality is the benefits above that are just not as great as they are from 0 to 11. Mm-hmm. And so I probably do 20, maybe to 25 minutes a week. And we keep our cold plunge here in the office around 51, 52. Yeah. I've done the 43, 44, and I've done the 55. And let me tell you, that 55 feels like a vacation compared to 42, 42. I mean, it's amazing. And so, I have found I'm getting my most dopamine and my most endorphins. And by far, I'm no professional. I'm just a 47-year-old dad bod trying to feel a little better.
Me too. Right? I'm a 47-year-old dad bod too, man.
Right. So for me, the endorphins and the dopamine after 5 minutes at 50 degrees after a sauna are it's amazing. Yeah. And it's definitely helped with, I do a ton of walking. I'll do some running, and the recovery from that's helped a ton. So yeah, Sweathouse has been a blast. We're in such the early stages here also. We have 13 of these open. We've sold about 60, 65 licenses. We just started franchising in June.
Oh, did you really?
And, yeah, we started franchising in June. Cool. We've sold about 60, 65 licenses. It looks like we'll sell somewhere between 100 and 200 licenses this year with the pace that we're going so far. And so what I'm most excited about it is that we're just so early in this stage of this type of health and wellness. And to me, that's seeing franchisees get in something this early is really exciting for me.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. My dad's 79 years old and he's into longevity. He soaks up a lot of like Peter Diamandis' stuff. And, he to the point where this stuff is starting to go a little bit mainstream, he bought one of those sauna bag things so he could do them at home. And I'm like, if a 79-year-old retired guy is starting to understand the importance of flexing various aspects of your physiology and stressing it, right? And getting those what do they call it? Hormetic triggers or whatever. Like that's a really, really strong thing for all of us. And so you guys are making that stuff accessible to basically everybody, which is awesome, man. That's awesome.
And what we're really trying to do here also is try to make it, and this is what I learned from OrangeTheory, who was the best in the world at it, try to make it as least intimidating as possible. Right? I mean, fitness can be so intimidating and listen, I love CrossFit and what CrossFit's done is amazing, but that's really intimidating. Mm-hmm. And then you walk into a Lifetime Fitness or a Planet Fitness and it's intimidating when everyone's in one room. Yeah. And so what we really try to do at Sweathouse is try to make this as non-intimidating as possible and let people realize this is for all people. Mm-hmm. You're in that suite by yourself. You have your own shower, your own sauna, your own television, your own everything. Your towels are provided. Everything's there for you. Yeah. You just have to go in there and really take that time for yourself. And we all deserve that.
We do. Not only do we deserve it, I figured out that not only do we deserve it, it's like necessary. If you're an entrepreneur, the most important resource that we have next to capital and time is our energy, our well-being. And for us to come in and, something I say to myself every morning is warrior up. Like I mentally say that statement to myself because I'm like, all right, I got to throw on my armor because I need to show up as my best self for whoever, clients, franchisees, anybody, you, my guest, right? And so I love the fact that you're involved in businesses that are helping people live their best lives. Like that's just super great place to go. Let's talk about Dogtopia. I love freaking dogs, man. So like that was you bought that. You have one location or how many?
We have 10. We have 10 right 10. Now. You have 10. Yeah. And so that was, I'm just a franchisee there. The franchisor and the CEO there, Neil Gill, is amazing. Another great business. And I wanted to be in that space. I think it was either right now or maybe been a couple of years ago that For people under 35, we're at the highest percentage of dog ownership. And what I tell everybody, I say, listen, here's what I know. You're not going to be 22, graduate college and get a dog. And then all of a sudden at 32, you're like, yeah, I'm just out on dogs. It just doesn't work.
Once a dog person, always a dog person.
You get a dog at 22, let's tell you what, you got a dog the rest of your life. Like
Absolutely.
it's not happening.
And you're probably going to have more than one, like at a time.
Yeah. I tell the story, and I know we're in time. I'll try to tell it very quickly.
We got no limit.
But my wife and we've got two girls, Maggie and Charlie, who are now they're 14 and 16. And our first dogs we were married. We've been married 20 years. Were Blue and Dixie, same litter, yellow labs, and they lived great lives. And the girls were like 6 or 7, maybe 5. And Dixie was last to go, and it was awful. Yeah. And I remember saying to my wife, I said, hey, listen, let me tell you what we're not going to do.
Get another dog.
We got to take some time. We got to take 6 months or a year before we do this. And she's like, I agree. So the girls come home from school, and we're going to tell them about Dixie. And we sit down, and I look at Maggie, and she's probably 7 or 8 years old. And I said, hey, baby, I got to talk to you about Dixie. And she just loses it. I mean, just loses it. And so I'm crying, and Reagan's crying, and Maggie goes, we got to get another dog. And Reagan looks at me, and I go, baby, we're going to go this weekend, and we're going to get another dog. And Reagan just looked at me like, what the fuck did you just do? I was like, dude, I can't help it. We got to get another dog. We had 2 more dogs within 10 days. I was like, we're not doing this.
You really did?
Oh, yeah. I was like,
oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Did you get puppies?
I was like, we can't. I can't. Yeah, we tend to do same litter brother and sister. We just like litter brother sister.
You like chaos?
But, I mean, I was just adamant, Reagan. I was like, listen, we're not. We're going to wait.
Way to hold the line, man. Way to hold the line.
It was in 30 seconds. I mean, I am just crying my eyes out.
I'm about ready to cry laughing right now because that would be me too.
Yeah, we're getting another dog this weekend. So listen, when you have that kind of emotional attachment to something and you have a business on the other side that's helping take care of that emotional attachment, I'm in. Like, you got me. Like, for the cold plunge thing, that sucks. I know it's going to help you live longer, but it sucks. Orange Theory and an all out on that treadmill for 20 minutes, that sucks. I get it. But my dog, no. That doesn't suck. You take care of my boys and my girls.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's funny we talk about this. We're just going to talk about dogs for a minute here. Our kids are 8 and 11. Our dogs are about, they're getting elderly, right? And it's all they've ever known. And I'm just like, even as I was watching the playoffs yesterday, I'm sitting there looking at the dogs, looking at the kids and being like, dude, this is going to be really hard when these dogs, they're dogs. So, and we'll never be one of those dogless families as well. It's just, it's super cool. So that's cool, man. Dogtopia. And so you're a dog lover. You love helping people live their best lives. You've got a couple thousand employees. And that you didn't see that coming. Like,
and that's without a doubt. Listen, running the businesses day to day and real estate, construction, CapEx, marketing, that stuff is really nowhere near as difficult. And I say this to my partners at Prospect Hill. Mm-hmm. I say to Jeff Teske, who's operating partner there, I say, listen, the human capital side of being a leader is by far the hardest thing I've ever done. And so my focus every day is to make our culture so great at both companies, LFC and Honors, that it helps the human capital side that much more. Yeah. And so, but the human capital side of being a leader probably doesn't get talked about quite as much as it should.
I agree. Well, let's dive into it. Like, let's absolutely dive into that because most businesses, unless even technology businesses, they're basically like software companies are human driven. Somebody's got to write the code. Like business and success, unless you're a solopreneur, really comes down to building a team and building a culture of accountability and winning. One of the things that I think I'd like to talk about here is because you've grown so rapidly, if you look back less than a decade ago, you didn't have these employees. Now you've got 2,000 families that are, depending on the organization to be able to provide for them and their families and their dreams. Right. What are some of the things what are some of the ways that you've stepped up culture so rapidly to make sure that, because I would almost call that kind of exponential. I mean, it's a pretty quick pace in terms of like head count. Yeah. Like, how have you guys spread the culture and made sure that it was preserved while, really going up really, really quickly? Like that seems like a challenging thing to do if you've never done it before.
It's extremely challenging, right? I mean, from we paid all of our employees through the global pandemic. I mean, that was first and foremost. And so we've got studios in cities and states that didn't open for 6 and 9 months in Oregon and Massachusetts. And even the part-time employees got paid. We took their average compensation and paid them the whole time. And so
that's cool.
we have to make every day about them. And so we have a mantra at both companies that, when you care more about others than you care about yourself, you just won't believe how many people will care about you. But when you only care about yourself, no one cares. Amen. No one cares about you.
Amen.
And so we've taken that to the whole next level. And so we've got 22 regional managers at Honors that have all been with us for at least 3, 4, or 5 years. Cool. I mean, the tenure there is amazing. My head of sales started as a part-time coach. My chief operating officer was my first employee that I hired. So we keep everything really tight and really in-house as much as possible. We've had people leave, and we have people that don't like Honors or don't like me, and that's business. Yeah. That's part of it. I get it. And it's really my job to make sure that those employees realize that I work for them. When they're happy, our members and clients tend to be happy. When they're unhappy, our members and clients tend to be unhappy. Yeah. And so it's my job to make sure those employees are happy all the time. And I can never lose that. When I lose that is when we're going to have a problem. Yeah. Then when the team loses that is when we have a problem.
Yeah. No, and it's pretty remarkable because I didn't even think about your timeline and the type of business you're in and what that meant, with COVID-19. So kudos to you guys continuing to take care of your team when they couldn't work. Right. Like legally, the government said, hey, you can't work. And for you and the organization to be like, hey, we're going to take care of you. Like, this isn't your issue is very admirable. And I know that wasn't a cheap thing to do. It wasn't a profitable thing to do. But at an organization where you had the means to do it and you care, it was the right thing to do. And sometimes right's not profitable. Right.
Right. The interesting story about it is that I've got a couple very experienced gentlemen on my board. One of us is Bill Watts, who is the chairman and CEO of Mattress Firm and GNC.
Oh, cool.
And Joe Fortunato, who's the chairman of Sprout. And so when I said, it was around probably March 23rd of 2020, when I said, hey, listen, I think we need to pay all the employees, and everyone agreed. Bill Watts called me after and he said, Jamie, let me tell you why. He goes, you're doing it with your heart, which is admirable, and I love it. It's great. He goes, but let me tell you what's going to happen. This man's in his 70s. He said, the federal government is going to make unemployment so easy and so abundant that you're not going to have people who want to go back to work. And when we reopen, it's going to be a problem. And I was just like, man, what's this guy talking about? This guy has no clue what he's talking about. It's exactly what happened. Yeah. So when we started reopening in the fall of 2020, summer and fall of 2020, we'd been paying our employees. So we weren't looking for anybody. We had all of our employees in place. And so it allowed our recovery in 21 and 22 to be that much better because we just weren't out searching for employees because we kept them all.
Dude. I mean, it's awesome having somebody with experience, right, on your board to be able to provide that.
Well, that's the key to scaling. That's the key to growth. And I've got a book that's coming out that I've been writing for the last 18 months with a ghostwriter as well about culture and scaling. And to me, it's impossible to scale, whether you're a franchisee or a franchisor, without the right culture. You have to remember, if I don't lose employees, I'm not having to retrain people, and I'm able to scale and acquire and go faster. But if I have 100% turnover and every year I'm having to retrain an entire new group of people, it's impossible to scale. Yeah. And so the only way that you can really scale is with the best culture, and the better the culture is, the faster you can scale.
Yeah. And it almost seems like somebody's hand was on your organization, because that's exactly what happened. It's like, man, you couldn't hire anybody afterwards. And to be able to, I'm just thinking about somebody who's working in one of your locations, trainer, whatever, right? And what that meant to them to hear.
It meant a lot. Yeah,
they don't have to worry, right? Like that had to be super cool feeling, taking care of people. And also scary as hell. It's scary. It was super scary.
Yeah. I mean, we're writing personal checks to put back in the business. I mean, it's a big deal. Yeah. And we had great banking partners that understood what we were doing and why we were doing it. I think we all realized, and what we're seeing now, you would think, if you read a book about a global pandemic, you would say, boy, at the end of this book, you would think people are really going to be focused on health and wellness for the next couple decades. And that's exactly what's starting to happen now is now we're starting to see the results of COVID and what's happened. And then we're seeing it at OrangeTheory, we're seeing first time fitness enthusiasts getting into OrangeTheory for the first time. People that haven't worked out in 10, 15 years who are saying, I went through this global pandemic and I've got to do something more. And you're really seeing it in Sweathouse. In Sweathouse, and as well as I do, you can be in that sauna for 30 minutes and burn a couple hundred calories and have a light cardiovascular workout and it feel like a brisk walk. Yeah. You start doing little stuff like that and you start adding in the cold plunge, you add in the red light therapy and all those things. It's not about, having to go lift 400 pounds. Right. It's just about being consistent and doing these little things every single day that add up over time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is kind of the misconception is if somebody's like, hey, I need to change something about my health or my well-being, they think they've got to go conquer this mountain of whatever it is, like I'll see people, I don't want to bash on 75 hard, but you'll see somebody say, hey, I'm going to go do 75 hard, which is like probably the most arduous type of structure you could, and it's punitive. It's punitive.
I couldn't do 7 hard.
No, me neither. Because life flows.
But I respect those people. But listen, let me be clear. I know you do. I respect those people that do it. It's amazing.
It is. It's crazy.
I just think, nowadays with social media, it's just so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Everything is just so beautiful.
Everything's perfect, right?
It's perfect.
Everybody's life is just in harmony all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I mean, I know it's what it's, when it comes to health and wellness, it's really about just doing the little things. And you're right. You don't have to conquer a mountain. You just got to do the little things. So for me, a victory for me is my 30 minutes in my infrared sauna because I get some time to myself. I get to decompress, but I'm also getting the benefits of infrared light. And so, and I'm sweating, I don't know who it was, but I read something recently. It said, people who watch people sweat and people who sweat. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, think about the number of people who just watch people sweat and don't sweat themselves versus people who sweat, and then the longevity of people who try to sweat every day. There's a lot to be said for that. Yeah. A lot to be said for that.
We've got a nickname for sweat at our Taekwondo studio. It's called Wimp Juice. So you can see the wimp juice, every drop of sweat going away is just making you a stronger human being. Right. Like, it's just like flexing your capacity and all these awesome things. So I think a lot of people look at sweating, they're like, oh, it's not a good thing. I'm like, no, it's amazing. Like the more, the better, the more, the better, the more, the better. So what do you see? You've got quite a trajectory. Let's just kind of put it that way. Are you going to be looking to grow your portfolio of OrangeTheory? Are you looking to blow up Sweathouse? All the above? Like, what's in the future for you? Or do you not know? You just kind of like, hey, we're on a ride and we're going to see what people need and want in the market.
No, I know.
You know? Yeah.
I don't think OrangeTheory is going anywhere. We just made it through a global pandemic. We're in an amazing place. Mm-hmm. I think people are continuing to look for that workout where I can just show up. I don't have to think about it. High energy. It's, 50 minutes and I'm in and out. So I think, the OrangeTheory business is a business there's 1,300 locations, 1,400 locations globally. And so what Dave Long and that team has built is just amazing. And so that business will do really well for a really long time. Sweathouse is probably the biggest part of my focus right now. And just with being a franchisor for the first time and really trying to find the balance between the franchisors who have done it right and the ones who have done it wrong, and trying to find that middle ground of making sure that we are as franchisee heavy as possible. That my focus is, I know that if I focus on having franchisees that are multi-unit franchisees that have roofers on other areas that are contiguous territories where we're not having infighting in a city, that's 80% of the battle. Finding those people And we probably do, well, I know we do about 3 to 4 meet the team days a week. And so we have lots of groups coming in. And so it's an interview process for them. It's an interview process for us.
Absolutely.
There have been some really good franchisees who we've turned them away and just said, listen, it's maybe not a good culture fit.
Yeah.
And I think that's best for them and best for us. But we're just going to do it in a way that could take us longer to build it, but it's going to be built right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd like to have 40 to 60 franchisees and we think we can build anywhere between 700 and 1,000 Sweathouses across the U.S. Yeah. And so, we're just going to do it what's best for the franchisee, not what's best for the franchisor.
I love that. And when you do that, because what are we building this for? We're building it for the franchisees. We're building a support system, shared services, infrastructure, all of these things, not for us. I mean, we're the architects. It's so other people can get on the platform and do what they want to do in the business world. And
what makes it unique for us is that we're an operator.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm an operator.
You got the credibility, man. You've walked in their shoes.
I'm an operator. Yep. Yeah, I'm an operator first and foremost. Yep. And I'm, with 142 OrangeTheories and 1,500 employees over the last 8 years. And then the 13 Sweathouses we have are all mine. They're all corporate.
Oh, they are.
Cool. Yeah. We have our first franchisee about to open in Boca. Looks like in the next 60 days.
Awesome.
And so we'll open about 20, maybe 25 franchisees this year, but I'm opening 20 a year. I mean, and so when you have a franchisor that says, yeah, I'm going to open 20 a year, mm-hmm. I'm not coming into your city. Yep. That's yours. We're going to keep some cities for ourselves. Mm-hmm. That when you have a franchisor that's also an operator that can say, hey, we're operators. And the other thing we've done as a franchisor is that I've opened up all of my employees at Sweathouse to be recruited by the franchisees. I mean, if you're telling me we're having a labor.
Dude, that's awesome. That is cool. Yes. That is really cool. So if you've got like a really good manager at one of your stores, somebody's having a hard time.
He or she are open to interview with any franchisee to move anywhere they want.
That's cool.
It's the right thing for the franchisee and it's the right thing for the employee. Right. And so I can go replace them. We got it. We'll figure it out our side. But every employee that we have is open to go work for any franchisee, and we will not be recruiting obviously from any franchisees.
Right.
We would never.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got the talent pipeline if they need it or are having a hard time, which is super.
We're overhiring. Yeah, we're overhiring in these cities that we're going into. I mean, we're opening them as fast as we can, mm-hmm. and we're overhiring for a franchisee. I mean, listen, we have a Boston studio, Assembly Row. I sold it. I sold it to the franchisee. The franchisee up there took the whole area, and I said, listen, I don't want to have one studio with you around me. Just buy this one from me. It's only been open 7 months. You take it. It's yours. And you've got the employees and everything's in place and ready to go. So it's one thing to say we're making it about the franchisee. It's a whole nother thing for our actions to be right there. That's exactly what we're doing.
I got to tell you, man, this has been a breath of fresh air, a lot of integrity, a lot of doing what's right, a lot of stuff that is not in your best interest. It's not in your best interest to lose your best team members, but to be able to send them over to your franchisees. Hell yeah. So this is,
if we've got a 25-year-old manager that wants to move to Florida, I get it. You should go, right? I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's got to be right for the manager, but it's got to be right for the employee. But yeah, I mean, we've really put some thought into how we want to act as a franchisor, and what we're going to build is going to be the best platform for franchisees in health and wellness.
Beautiful. Beautiful. If people want to learn more about you or get plugged in, like, where's the best place for them to go do that?
Yeah, honestly, I'm on LinkedIn, Jamie Weeks on LinkedIn, and I respond to all the messages there. And I'm on Instagram as well. I think it's Jamie Weeks ATL. It's private, but I don't know why it's private. I accept everybody. It doesn't matter.
Awesome.
So those are probably the two best places. And then you can go to sweathouse.com and fill out the information if anyone wants information on how to be a franchisee.
Cool. And it's Sweathouse with a Z, right? Yeah, with the Z.
It is.
Awesome, Jamie. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to visit with us. I love this conversation. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode was awesome. If you're somebody who's having a hard time stepping up culture, which I think is one of the biggest leadership challenges in an organization, and you know somebody who's having a hard time stepping up culture, go ahead and share this episode with that person right now. Just send them a text, to it, whatever's easiest for you. And then just one more ask. If you enjoy our show and what we're doing at Franchise My Business, it would mean the world to me if you hit subscribe on the platform you're listening to now. Until next time, I'm your host, Kevin Oldham. Thank you, be well, and have a phenomenal day.